But to tell me you know my pain is to stab yourself in the leg because you saw me get shot. We have 2 different wounds, and looking at yours does nothing to heal mine.
We are telling these children who have spent their whole lives in the deep end that they'll learn how to swim if they just float out a little farther.
See, this was before poetry became our world. I noticed that words have gravity. I've seen them crush people.
Simon says, you will refer to it as Officer Simon from here on.
And Officer Simon says, know your place. Officer Simon says, show your teeth, boy. You're only as valuable as you are able.
When I started writing, I started speaking. So this is why I write, because it helps me speak. When I first found out about poetry slams that were happening around Pretoria and Joburg, that was the first time I actually got to speak and share what I was writing. And that was a way of undoing my silence.
I'm the culprit that started the Poetry Slam. Some people love it, some people hate it. I've been accused of leading a movement that has denigrated poetry to the level of a TV sitcom. I've also been accused of bringing poetry back to the people, capital P.
I am a wordsmith. I craft poetry with my hands and my soul. My goal is to let everyone hear me out.
So I think I'm definitely interested in pushing that narrative that, hey, this is an art form that's accessible and it allows you to get your voice out and it allows you to speak in mediums where people will listen.
The poetry, it's just a way for me to express myself on paper. Like, I don't go out and talk to people about everything that go on because it's personal, so I just write it down.
And one of the things that attracted me most in language was poetry and spoken word and performance art. In the way that it really cultivates a space for active listening, right? It creates a space for you to be heard.
Rhiannon, tell me why poetry is so important to you.
Well, I think that as teenage girls, if we have a creative, emotional outlet, because like if there is a problem that's bothering you and you're able to put it on paper in a poetic way and then memorize it and then perform it in front of a bunch of strangers, then that problem won't bother you anymore. And as teenage girls, it is so important that we have a creative, emotional outlet because, you know, most people, they don't want to listen to gay girls or girls of color or girls who have survived sexual abuse.
Right.
So it is just so important that we have that outlet. We're reclaiming our space in the world.
Let me be your worst nightmare for one night. I'll shed away my wings and Betsy Johnsons and I'll play boogeyman. See, I know what you're afraid of, a woman who can do bad, no evil, all by herself.
How would they teach us to lift our voices? I'm still trying to answer that question, but that's where the poetry comes in. So after graduation, I spent 2 years traveling around the world doing just that. Teaching people to break the silence, to use poetry to reclaim their stories.
Because we're young, our voices are not heard, they're kind of overlooked. It's just like, yeah, you're young, it's fine. You're not really gonna experience anything, you're not gonna go through anything, but you'd be surprised at some of the stuff that some of us have already dealt with or are dealing with still.
I write because, well, it used to be because at times I didn't feel heard within the classroom or around people who were older than me. I felt like our stories weren't being told, and so I began to write.
It's my belief that art, writing poetry, performing at theater, dance, is sacred. It's a life-changing human activity directed toward uncovering the truth about oneself and the society at large, about opening one's eyes and helping others to see the harms they may be blind to.